Australia's insanely high taxes. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I want to have a look at this article written by Stephen Koukoulas. Australians on track to be taxed like never before. Now, I just want to draw your attention to this little chart here. This is from the OECD. It's showing you, well, where Australia sits with the amount of tax we pay. We're right up there. We're third or fourth in the OECD, everyone. We kind of get no advantage if you've got kids or not, as opposed to some countries. Sure, we have the family tax benefit, but once you earn decent money, it all disappears. Okay, it's welfare for people on lower income who have large families to ensure that children can be provided with necessities. But guys, it disappears. Trust me, I know. So let's have a look at this. And remember, guys, it's only a few days to taxes are due. Have you all submitted? Have you all paid your tax bills yet? Or are you, stung with that huge bill? So you go into property, negative gear it, and offset your tax. This is what people do. We had someone comment in another video saying they were part of the problem because they'd, bought a property 100% financed, offset with another property, and used it to minimize their tax. I can't blame them for doing it. It makes perfect sense. It's what you have to do when you're just wasting money giving it to the government. So check your payslip and check your receipts. The Morrison government is poised to be the highest taxing government in Australian history. The amount of tax it is collecting is booming. When this happens, it makes a mockery of the claims of the Prime Minister and his Treasurer Josh Frydenberg that the coalition parties deliver lower taxes for the Australian community. They certainly do not. This surging tax take is not just in dollar terms, but the ratio of tax to GDP is set to exceed 24.5% for the first time ever. This means that around a quarter of all output will flow to the federal government in taxes we have had to pay. The previous record high tax to GDP ratio was under the Howard government when it reached 24.3% in 2004 and 2005. According to the most recent data from the Department of Finance, which covers the first 2 months of financial year 21-22, tax revenue is running a thumping 18.4% ahead of the estimate for tax collectors at budget time. Back then, Treasurer Frydenberg was forecasting tax receipts of $445.6 billion in 21-22, assuming the factors that saw the tax surge in the early part of the year follow through over the remainder of the year. The tax take will be around $527.5 billion. This will be well above the 24% of the current estimate for GDP and will be hovering around a record high. A comprehensive update of the budget numbers will be included in the Midyear Economic and Fiscal Update, which is set to be released in the middle of December. This will include more up-to-date tax revenue and update economic forecasts that feed into GDP. If this confirms that the tax to GDP ratio is above 24%, it will present a problem for the coalition government, which has promised to keep the tax ratio at or below 23.9. Well, then what they need to do, everyone, they need to reduce our taxes, guys. What do you think? Do you think that's a good idea? Is that what Koukoulas is arguing for, a reduction in our taxes? Somehow I don't think he is. I just don't. Maybe I'm just a bit suspicious of him, and he's just using this to get shots at the LNP. But we'll have to see, guys. We'll have to see. So, the tax cap. The coalition introduced this cap on taxes as a means to restrict government spending. When he was Treasurer, Morrison committed to a speed limit on taxes in our budget that required that taxes do not grow beyond 23.9% of our economy. So we're all going to get refunds. That'd be awesome. That'd be nice to actually get some money back. Because, when you get a tax refund, it just means that guys, you've been too much has been stolen off you. So they have to give you back some. It's your money that you were forced to give them, everyone. So this policy was reinforced by Frydenberg, who in September last year said our commitment to strong fiscal discipline and containing the size of government, which comes from controlling growth in spending and maintaining the tax to GDP ratio below 23.9%. Adding our 23.9% cap on tax to GDP ratio will be retained. 23.9% has no logic or meaning in economics or public policy. It's an arbitrary figure plucked out of the air at a time of lower government spending and a more favourable budget bottom line than we see today. With the economy set to recover strongly over the medium term, the tax take of the federal government is certain to increase beyond the current financial year and will hit 25% of GDP in 22-23. This suggests the government will flag a series of tax cuts to lower the tax take, fortuitously in the lead into the 2022 election campaign. Fantastic! This will be despite the budget still being in substantial deficit. This would be a misguided policy move. So, the budget deficit. The budget is likely to be around a still massive 75 billion. The budget deficit is to be around a still massive 75 billion in 21-22 and will be substantially over the forward estimates. Government debt is still on track to hit $1 trillion. If the government has any desire to return the budget to balance and retain the tax cap at 23.9% of GDP, there will have to be a draconian spending cuts. Yeah, but why is Kakoulis arguing for a reduction in government deficit? I don't get it. Isn't he the deficit guy? Isn't this what he argues for? And now he's arguing, probably because the other team is the one pushing the deficit forward. Rather than this, the government will be wise to use its good luck that revenue is rising as global commodity prices surge and the economy performs better than expected to bank the money and start repairing the budget. In other words, has Kakoulis switched to the coalition now? In other words, it should use the tax windfall to get the budget back to surplus as quickly as possible and to start on the long, long road to fixing the budget and lowering the growth in government debt. Who is this guy? Has he changed? What's going on? Well, let's have a bit of a talk about this. Tax cuts for Australians? Fantastic. Yeah, 100% agree. Government deficit and debt? Well, maybe the government should also reduce the size of, their interference in the economy. Maybe scale back on some services rather than taxing more out of us. Wouldn't that be good? Do you think it's going to happen, everyone? We'll have to see. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Now, if you enjoyed that video, there's another one I want to draw to your attention. If you like that video, I suggest you have a look at this short one about government deficits and Peter Lynch's take on it, how he argues for the advantage of government deficits. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I'm going to start putting shorts up on the channel with little clips of interviews and things every now and then. Take care, and I'll see you next time.